entrepreneurs, welcome back into my channel. Super excited to talk to you guys about this topic, which is going to be your brick and mortar space, right? So before I even get into this topic, I want you guys to consider, like, if you're already operating your business, let's say you're online and you want to move into a physical space, please make sure to consider if it's the right time for you to transition from online to a physical space. Now, one thing I want to tell you, that if it ain't broke, don't fix it. If you're online and your business is booming online, and is doing amazing, unless there is a high demand for you to go into a physical space, then I would say stay online, right? I want to say use Fashion Nova as an example, right? Fashion Nova is a powerhouse in the online fashion styles or fashion clothing styles for women. And they probably have 4 or 5 brick and mortar stores, and I want to say they closed one during the pandemic, but they aren't known for having physical stores, right? You can literally go online, buy what you need, and you don't need to go into a physical store to buy from a Fashion Nova, right? So even having such a high reach like Fashion Nova, they are not hugely into the physical brick and mortar space. So really depending on what type of service or product you're offering, really consider if there's a true need for you to go into a physical space, or is it just this idea that you've made in your head that you really want to do for yourself, right? Because it could ultimately end up being a huge headache for you getting into a physical space, especially if your business is already doing well online, okay? So really consider that before you go into brick and mortar. Now, if you've already decided that you're going brick and mortar, there's no other way, right? Let's say maybe you're a trainer and your clientele has outgrown the space that you're currently in, or if you're using a shared space and you want to go into your own space, whatever the case may be, you've decided that it's time for you to go into your physical space and you're ready to move forward that process. I want you guys to think about these things that I'm going to tell you, because they could make or break your success as a brick and mortar business owner. So let's get right into it. I believe in myself. I am in the right place at the right time all the time. My purpose is within me, and I am successful because I apply the knowledge that I receive. And I will tell you this, God does not expose you to something that is not possible. Now, I've gone over this a few times in a previous video, but I want to make sure that I emphasize once again that if you guys are going to go into a brick and mortar space, that you consider the demographic where you are looking to set up shop. So if your demographic is to target single moms or single parent households, then you want to be able to conduct some research and find out, are you in an area that is going to be within a 3 to 5 mile radius of where your target audience is. It's very similar to being online, but it's more so important when you're going into a physical space. Just because you live in a certain city doesn't mean that you have to set up your business in that city. Is it going to be convenient for you? Yes. But is it going to be convenient for the business is the real question, right? So if you are looking to target single moms, don't go into set up a brick and mortar in a city where most of the households are 2-parent households, right? You're not going to be able to hit your target audience, and it's going to ultimately become an issue for you in your business because you're not going to be able to reach the people that you want to reach. You also want to consider household income, right? If your average cost of a product is $100 to $150 and you're moving into a city where the average household income is $50,000 to $60,000, those people are not going to pay $100 to $150 a month for a service or a product. So these are things that you want to be considering. If you're wondering, Taylor, how do I conduct research? How do I find out, what the median income household or, what the demographic is for the city that I'm interested in? You can literally go to your city website. You can look on Google, they have tools, and I'll link those below. There are tools, research tools that you can use to search the market in your area. You can also use a platform called bestplaces.net. Now, bestplaces.net is going to tell you the population in the city that you're interested in. It's going to give you some great information on demographics within the city and state that you're interested in. The next thing I want you guys to consider is zoning requirements, right? So when you go to sign your lease, your landlord is not going to be interested or telling you, they may, but 9 times out of 10, it's not their job to tell you whether or not the location where you're interested in signing your lease is zoned for your business. I think I've also discussed this in a previous video, is if you are looking to do a hair salon and the location where you're interested in is zoned for a hotel, then you're going to have to go through some things with the city if you're going to do it the right way. You're going to have to go through some things with the city to get that location rezoned, if it's even possible to get it zoned for a hair salon. So these are things that, you may not be thinking about when you're looking to go into a physical space, but it's something that you want to be sure to consider, because if, God forbid, the city finds out that you're operating a business in a location that's not zoned for that business, you're going to get shut down, right? So you want to make sure that the location that you're interested in for your brick and mortar space is optimized or zoned with the city to operate under that particular umbrella. The next thing I want you guys to consider is permits and requirements, right? So it's very similar to zoning, but if you're going to be doing construction or building out a restroom or putting up signage, sometimes these things require permits with the city. Now, again, you can go and try to do it without, doing it the right way, but there is a chance that you can get shut down, especially if you got nosy neighbors, and things like that. So you want to always check with the city to see if the work that you're going to be doing within your space, does it require a permit or not, right? So these are things, again, that could delay your process. And if you delay the process of getting open, then you're gonna start to lose money, right? So make sure you guys consider that. Another thing I want you guys to do when you're looking to get your brick and mortar space is make sure that you negotiate with the landlord. When you are going into a commercial lease, it is way different from going into a regular rental lease for a house, a residential property, right? When you are going to go into a commercial lease, you can negotiate free rent, right? If it's going to take you some time to build out, you got to do some construction, you got to build a bathroom, you got to do some painting, you got to put down new floors, you got to replace light fixtures. Whatever the case is, you can negotiate for your landlord to give you free rent for, I've seen it up to a year, right? When I moved into my brick and mortar space, I got 6 months free rent while I did construction and got my business ready to operate. And I've seen some of my colleagues get all the way up to a free year of rent. So you can negotiate these things, especially if the landlord is not going to give you any tenant improvement. So they call this TI, but tenant improvement is basically the landlord giving you money to go towards the construction process. So for me, my landlord, when I negotiated my lease, gave me $15,000 towards my construction. So not only did I get 6 months free rent, I got $15,000 towards my construction costs that they gave me in a rebate. So I think after the 6 months had passed, then they cut me a check for $15,000. So make sure that you guys negotiate that. So if your landlord is not willing to give you any TI or tenant improvement fees, then you should be able to negotiate more free rent based on the amount of work that you need to do within your commercial location. So very, very important, especially if you're not using a broker and you're trying to negotiate your commercial lease yourself. Those two things you want to make sure that you consider when you're looking for your space. So if you've got 2 locations and one landlord is willing to give you 6 months free rent and the other one is willing to give you a year, I'm definitely going over here with a year, unless the landlord for 6 months is paying like 100% of my construction costs or something crazy like that. So these are things you want to make sure that you weigh out and consider before moving into your brick and mortar space. And then the last two things I want you guys to make sure that you're thinking about is your parking and visibility, right? So if you're moving into a space that, let's say for instance, it's a gym or it's a hair salon, and you're going to need to have multiple parking spaces, does the building that you're considering have a parking lot, right? Are there other businesses in that parking lot? Drive through that location during the times that you think your business is going to have its peak hours and see what that parking lot looks like, right? Is it completely full? Are your clients going to have issues finding parking? Are they going to have to park across the street and walk to you? These are things that could potentially inconvenience your clients that you want to make sure that you know about prior to. So always drive through at different times of the day, drive through in the morning, at lunchtime, in the evening, and see what the parking situation looks like in the area where you're considering your space, so that you are not blindsided when you're setting up shop and then you realize, oh my gosh, there's literally never any parking when my clients are coming, into my business. That could be a huge problem. So consider parking. Make sure that your clients will have a place to park. You can also negotiate in your lease agreement dedicated parking for your clients. So maybe you can have dedicated 3 spaces in front of your business, things like that. Those are things that are negotiable, so make sure that you guys are thinking about it. Last thing I want you guys to consider is visibility, right? I highly recommend that you get signage put in front of your building when you guys are going into a physical space. So make sure that is your building going to be front facing, right? When people pass by, are they going to be able to look over and see your business from the street? And if not, will the landlord allow you to put a sign by the corner if it's going to be tucked away? But as I told you guys before, marketing is so important. And if you're tucked away in a shopping center that nobody knows you're there, nobody can see you, there's no signage up, you don't have anything on the corner, you're missing out on great organic traffic, free traffic that's going to come just by seeing your sign that says fitness or hair salon. Like, oh my gosh, I didn't know it was a hair salon over there. And even though that person may not come, they may tell a friend, hey, like, did you know it was a hair salon that's, up there across the street? Like, these are things that you guys need to have in place that I think is so important for your physical spaces. Make sure that you have signage up on the building. And if you're not going to have signage, make sure you have some kind of visibility, whether it be a sign on the corner. You can hire those people that's out on the corner and they have the little signs and they're got the arrow telling you to come see their business. Like, I've seen that and I have answered those calls. I'm telling you, it's a soul food place right down the street from me, and I had no idea they were there, but they hired a person to stand on the corner to wave a sign saying soul food on it. And I was like, I need to check them out. And I did, and the food was great. Right? So these things are super important for your brick and mortar space. I want you guys to be extremely successful. So I hope these tips have helped you. Please comment below. Let me know if you have any questions or if you want me to expand on any of these topics more. I'll be happy to do that. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I'll see you on Thursday.